The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Rob Deininger, and I'm with Jack Degraw, and we are talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you today, Robert?
Not too bad. Yankees didn't have a good weekend or good two series against Toronto and Detroit.
No, I mean, there's no excuse to go into Detroit, and lose 3 games in a row. It's like, they swept the White Sox last weekend, and with the play this weekend, which was horrible against the Tigers, it's like that was a wash. It didn't even mean anything.
No, and the Yankees now find themselves 4.5 games back of Tampa Bay, with the Rays coming in for a 4-game series. And if the Yankees drop 3 out of 4 or even get swept, they could find themselves almost 10 games behind Tampa Bay, with Boston right up behind them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure out what kind of team they have. I mean, they started off rough, and then they looked good for like a month, and now it's like they're just horrible. They're tough to watch. I mean, they're not the lineup. There's just so many dead spots in the lineup. You got guys playing out of position. It's just they're not a good team. They're just not a good team.
And if it wasn't for their pitching being as good as it has been, I mean, their record could be even worse. I mean, their pitching is what's been keeping them in games, but the pitching is just, hasn't been that good this past weekend. But the Yankees have to start finding ways to score some runs.
Yeah, you've got like 5-6 guys, still under 200 or hitting around 200, and they're not being productive, and it's just it's just hard to watch. I mean, when they were playing better, they didn't strike out as much. Now they're striking out a lot, and there's always men left on base, and it's just guys playing out of position. It's just right now they're not a good team, and if they don't play well against the Rays and the Red Sox, I mean, it could be an uphill climb for the rest of the season.
Yeah, when it comes to run differential, the Rays are plus 61, and the Red Sox are plus 54, and the Yankees are only plus 10. So I mean, it's really been their pitching that's kept them in games. And going back to like what you said with players playing out of position, I think we can agree that Gleyber Torres he's not a shortstop.
No, and I mean that's something that's going to have to be addressed. I don't know if they can do anything this season, maybe put Tyler Wade at short. But I think, in this coming off season, you really have to figure out what you're going to do. I mean, because, he just makes too many errors. And the bad thing is they're just bad errors. I mean, a good major league shortstop doesn't make, those kind of errors.
Yeah, he made one today where, I mean, he does this a lot where he goes to backhand the ball, and before he watches it into his glove, he's taking his eye off of it to look at first, and the ball winds up going off his glove or skipping on by him, and that's just not good defense. That leads to runners on base or runners scoring. It's just it's not good.
Yeah, and I mean, when he was down here in the minors, he played shortstop mostly in the minor leagues. And the thing was, okay, well, when he gets to the majors, he'll play second. And he played second base, and he was a good second baseman. He made adequate. He made most of the plays, and he was an excellent hitter. I mean, now he's subpar defensively, and his offense, even though he's hit well lately, it's, he's had like 4 home runs over the last 275, 300 at bat. So it might have affected his hitting also.
Yeah, because this year, like you said, he's only got 2 home runs this year, and he only had maybe 2 or 3 last year in the shortened season. And you're right, this has been more than just 1 year. It's gone back to last year that he's struggled offensively, and it could be from going from second to short and trying to be a major league shortstop.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys have just, regressed. I mean, Gary Sanchez, he looked like a star player.
Yeah.
And he's really he just fell off the map. Now, he's just a below average player. and it looked like he was going to be a star.
Yeah, and that's the other. The Yankees, not only will they have to take a look at short, but they have to decide what to do with Gary Sanchez, because he's a free agent after this year. And do you maybe package him in a deal this year for something, or do you just let him walk and just go? So they have some decisions to make. Yeah,
I mean, the way it looks right now, I don't think you'll see him after this season in a Yankee uniform. Of course, there's a lot of games to be played, so but it hasn't. You don't like what you've seen for the last 2+ seasons.
No, and the injury bug seems to get the Yankees every year. And one of the guys is Aaron Hicks. He's apparently gone for the year. Voit has a grade 2 oblique strain, and Judge had that a few years ago, and he was out for 15, missed 54 games to that. So Voit might be gone for a good haul, and Kluber's at least gone for 2 months. So those are 2-3 big players the Yankees are going to have to try to win without.
Yeah, I mean, Hicks has got that big contract, so he's not going anywhere for the next 3 or 4 seasons. And, I don't know what they're going to do with him. If he has the surgery, he's definitely done for the season. And if he doesn't have the surgery, he might try to play through it. But, if you have hand injuries, it's going to affect your hitting. And so it's definitely you're going to miss, you're going to miss Voit. I mean, he might not be back till mid-August. So it's just it's a bad stretch. But, the injury bug's been here for 2+ seasons.
Yeah, and we were talking off air about DJ LeMahieu. I mean, he's making contact. He's hitting the ball hard, but he's only batting .267, which is something as Yankee fans we're not used to seeing. But like we were saying, maybe he's pressing because the bottom of the lineup really not doing much to get on base. So there's not many, opportunities for him to knock in runs. And he's usually the guy that's setting the table for the top of the lineup and driving in runs. And right now he might be pressing a little bit.
Yeah, because when he was hitting well, I mean, you had like 6 or 7 guys were knocking in runs, and now you only got maybe 2 or 3 guys. I mean, Torres has hit well, and Judge has hit well, and Stanton, when he's healthy, has knocked in runs. But other than that, it's Arcel has done a good job. But other than that, it's been it's been a rough go. I mean, not only are these guys not hitting, they're not being productive at all. No,
because in 2019, LeMahieu drove in over 100 runs from the leadoff spot, and the bottom 3 guys who are in the lineup today, which is Sanchez batting .202, Andujar batting .226, and Frazier batting .182, and Wade .250. So the bottom of their lineup, they're mixing and matching, trying to get production, but the bottom of the lineup's just not doing anything for the Yankees at this point.
No. And I mean, we were both high on Frazier, and no way I'm going to give up on him because he's going through a bad patch. But these guys, we thought were going to be stars. I mean, they're just not a good team right now. Yeah. I mean, and they're a lot worse than they were a year ago or even 2 years ago. And I think we had high expectations for them. Maybe winning a World Series or 2, at least getting to the World Series. And now it's like you don't know what to expect. It's just not a good team right now. And, they brought up guys from the minor leagues who were productive. And now it's like, do you have anybody in the minors? Of course, with last year, there was no minor league season, but there just doesn't seem to be anybody who's capable of coming up and doing a good job. Like a couple of years ago, we had guys we bring up, and like Ford and Estrada, and there was numerous other guys. But now it's like, who are you going to bring up?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, we were bringing guys up, and they were effective. And there was a hashtag that was it said "next man up" because any guy who they brought in seemed to help the team, and we're just not, there's really no one to bring up right now that can help them like that, which helped them a few years ago. Guys like Andujar, Sanchez, and Frazier, these guys are up here now, and I don't think there's anyone down there that can come up and help them.
No, I mean, if you bring somebody up from the minors, we're talking about Florial, but, he has to get at bats. And, I mean, if he gets them in the major leagues, he's going to struggle.
Yeah. And the one guy they have been talking about is Gittins, the first baseman down in the minor league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is first baseman. He's got some power. There's a good chance, Robert, we might see him.
Yeah, because I guess he has like 4 or 5 home runs so far down in AAA, and the Yankees right now, without Voit at first, your only real option is to play LeMahieu there, and so there's a good chance he can come up if he keeps hitting.
Yeah, he's had a few seasons when he's had 20-plus homers in the minors, and he looked good in spring training, so it's a good possibility they might bring him up this week because, you can't keep having guys playing out of position all the time because it does catch up to you.
Yeah, and I will give Anderhart credit. I mean, he has looked better in the outfield. He made a nice diving catch yesterday, but, today he went 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts and left 3 men on base. And that rookie year of his, he had over 600 bats and struck out less than 100 times. And this year he seems to be swinging aggressively, and he's striking out a lot more than he used to his first year in the big leagues.
Yeah, I think with him maybe he's just pressing because the only reason he's on the team now is because of the injuries. Yeah. So it's almost like, he's an afterthought, and he had a terrific Rookie of the Year. He should have been the Rookie of the Year, and ever since then, he got hurt, and Ursula took over, and now it's like, okay, we'll bring him up because we don't have anybody else.
Yeah, and Ursula, he had a great start to the season, but lately I wonder if he's banged up a little bit because he's been struggling. He left 4 men on bases today too, and struck out twice, going 0 for 4. And like you said earlier, there's just a lot of dead spots in this lineup right now.
Yeah, I mean, the guys who are knocking in runs are maybe pressing a little bit because they've got a lot of players who just are not are not producing. Gardner's got 3 RBIs, and Frazier's only got 7 RBIs, and Mike Ford, he's only got 5 RBI and 69 at bat. So I mean, nobody's knocking any runs.
No, and like today you had, like I said, Anderhart left 3 men on base, Urshela left 4, Judge left 5, and Wade left 5. So they're not only struggling at the plate, but even when they do get runners in scoring position, they're not driving them in.
And I mean, there was a bad play today. Sanchez got a hit, and then he got thrown out going to second on a ball got past the first baseman, and he tried to, he made the wrong turn and went to second. I mean, when you're losing 6-1, 6-2, I mean, these are just, bonehead plays. And I mean, these are the kind of plays, if you got a manager, they just pull them from the game. I mean, Torres didn't run out of grounder a couple of weeks ago, and they don't do nothing to these guys. So it's it's the team is dead.
Yeah. I was telling that to my dad, talking to my dad earlier about just how there doesn't seem to be that much life in the dugout, and there doesn't seem to be a coach, manager, or even a player that's willing to rip into the team to try to get something out of them. I mean, the reason they got rid of Girardi was because he was so hard on Sanchez. But, Boone, they wanted someone who got along with the players and didn't criticize them. And, I think that hurts a team more than it helps it.
Well, I mean, another thing, I think, you'd like to hear something from Hal Steinbrenner.
Yeah. You
spend this money. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, especially after losing 3 to the Tigers. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if George was alive. I mean, you couldn't shut him up right now. Yeah.
No, he would have blew a gasket in April.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, someone from the top needs to speak out if the manager can't. Yeah,
I mean, they go by analytics and stuff, and if you got guys who can play and are productive, there's no reason to, be getting on somebody. But when you got guys who should be performing better and are not, then it's time, you got to hold their ass to the fire and say, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. We got what's his name, Taylor, pitching tomorrow to start the series against Tampa. He's been struggling this year. Hopefully he has a good outing. But Tampa Bay, they've won 14 of the last 15 games, and they're just on fire. But we have Taylor, Herman, Montgomery, and then Cole to finish up the series against Tampa. I mean, I'd like to see us take 3 out of 4, but I'll be happy with a split with the way they're playing.
Yeah, they really got to, step it up. We should mention Kluber too, Robert, Corey Kluber. We both kind of, weren't expecting him to, make it through the season unscathed, but he shut down for at least 4 weeks, and then they said it'll take another 4 weeks to ramp him back up. So he's gone for at least 2 months, but I did hear he wanted to get another opinion or a second MRI done, and I don't know what the results were from that if he's gotten it, but he's gone for at least 2 months, so that kind of hurts the Yankees. Well, that's not really a surprise.
No.
He hasn't pitched hardly at all in 2 seasons, and I think in a way it's a good thing because if he comes back in mid-August or whatever, he's still capable of being an outstanding pitcher. Yeah. And at some point he was going to miss some time, and I think throughout the major leagues this year, you're going to see a lot of injuries, especially with the pitchers, because you get guys who threw 45 innings last year, 50 innings, and now we're not even in the June yet, and they've thrown more innings than they did last year. How many innings can they go? If somebody threw 45 innings last year, are you going to be able to throw 150 innings this year? That's asking a lot for somebody, and I think we're going to see a lot of injuries. The teams, that the lineups you see in mid-May is going to be a whole lot different, come September.
Yeah, and Zach Britton, he might be back sometime soon, I think. I think he pitched in Double-A for Somerset recently.
Yeah, yep. I think the plan was he was going to get into 5 games. I know he's been in at least 1, and he might be throwing again tonight. So that'll be good to get him back. Yeah,
I just pulled it up. He threw 18 pitches the other night. He got a couple of ground outs before giving up a single, throwing a wild pitch, and then getting a strikeout to end his frame. So he threw an inning, threw 18 pitches, and got out of it unscathed. It'd be nice to get him back.
Yeah, I think he'll probably pitch tonight, or if he pitched today or maybe tomorrow and stuff. So we should see him. Maybe in this next weekend or early the week following week.
Yeah, and with Davey Garcia, Michael King, I think we can withstand Kluber being out for a couple months because I like both of those guys. Garcia, pitched well his last outing the other day, and I know King had a rough outing today, but it wasn't really that bad. So I still think he's a good pitcher. So I think we can weather Kluber being down for a little while with the pitching that we have.
Yeah, these guys just have, if they get an opportunity, and I think you'll see Loaiza pitch a little bit, and I think they can weather the storm. But the big thing now, I never thought I'd be saying it, is the offense. You don't know if they can score.
Yeah. I think the last 10 games, I think they're averaging just under 3 runs a game and batting under 250, or around 240. So they got to do a little bit better than that if they want to win some games coming up.
Yeah, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think they played 53 games, and I wouldn't be surprised, Robert, if in half those games they've scored 3 or less runs because they haven't really broken out at all.
Yeah, and on the road they're 14-13, just a game above 500 on the road. At home they're 15-11, just 4 games over 500. So they play a little bit better at home. which is good since they got Tampa and Boston coming in.
Yeah, these are these are big games. I mean, you don't want to lose 3 out of 4 to the Rays and then come in and lose 2 out of 3 to Boston because there's still a long way to go. But you don't want to be climbing uphill 7 or 8 games out, in mid-June.
No, I mean, you get behind a team like Tampa, and they could, next thing you know, start running away with the division. With Tampa, you never know with them. I mean, they just seem to win every year. It's amazing what they do down there, given their payroll.
Well, their front office, their staff, and their minor league staff, and their player development, they just do scouting. They just do an incredible job. And I mean, I think it's going to get into question now. What are the Yankees doing in the minor leagues? Their player development and their scouting department. So everybody's got to. I think House step up and just say, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. I mean, like we were talking off air, I mean, the Yankees' outfield has been so bad as far as run production. I think center field is one of the worst positions in the major leagues as far as run production, and their left field right behind them. And they might have to try to make a trade if things keep going the way they are, before the deadline to get some help, because you don't want to get too far behind, going into an all-star break or even, just into July.
Well, I think they had a guy who could have helped them with Talkman, and he's with the Giants, and Peralta's done a good job out of the bullpen, but you never think with the Yankee outfield you'd be worried about production, because I'd figure Frazier would knock in runs and Judge would knock in runs, and Hicks would be somewhat productive, and then Talkman or Gardner would do it, and these guys aren't just doing the job. Simple as that.
Yeah, because I mean, coming into the year, I mean, we were questioning why they would re-sign Gardner. I mean, we thought between Frazier and Talkman, we had enough in the outfield, especially with Andujar down in the minors, you could bring up. And I mean, it's kind of good that they signed Brett Gardner, because I mean, the outfield's a mess right now, except for Judge.
Yeah, and I mean, they got Gardner as the 4th outfielder this year, and he might play 130, 140 games. Yeah,
and we were talking off air, and I was mentioning about Gardner, how he is. He's a great outfielder, but he no longer has a good arm. I think they rated his arm like a C- or something like that. And the other day, when the Tigers catcher hit a liner past him in center field, as soon as Gardner got the ball to throw it back in, the catcher took off for third, and they didn't even stop at second. And it seems like teams now know they can run on Gardner, given how weak his arm is.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just look at the stats, how many times the outfielders have struck out this year. I mean, it's something like 175 strikeouts their starting outfielders have. And I mean, there's just games they don't put the ball in play. I mean, it's the whole lineup. It's just not the outfield.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm glad we got Stanton back, but he was hot before he got hurt. But the 2 games he's been back, he struck out 6 times, and one of them I think was a doubleheader game, so it was only 7 innings. And hopefully he can start hitting, but we need the top of the order to at least start driving in runs when they can, because right now the bottom of the order just can't hit.
Yeah, I don't think Stanton got any rehab games. I mean, he might have had hitting, before the games they'll have somebody pitch to him at the stadium or something, but I don't think he played any rehab games in the minor leagues. So it's going to take him 15, 20, 25 at bats just to get his timing back. And right now they can't afford that.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't have any time to play a game or two down the minors. I think Boone, he said as soon as he's able to come off the list, he was going to come back. That's how desperately they needed him. Yeah,
so, sluggers, we all know how that goes. I mean, they can carry a team, but when they're slumping, it's not pretty to watch.
No. But with Stanton back, I mean, it's LeMahieu, Stanton, Judge, Urshela, and Torres, the first 5, and then the next 4, it's basically miss and match until you find a combination that works, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's to give, not to jump on Boone, but how are you going to do anything with the lineup when the guys aren't hitting?
Yeah.
Where are you going to put anybody? I mean, does it make any difference who bats 6th or who bats 9th when nobody's doing the job?
Yeah, I mean Sanchez. I can't believe how. I mean, he was so good the first few years he came up here, and it's like he just fell off. It was no gradual decline. He just fell off. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like, I mentioned before, we always talk about he looked like somebody who was going to be a star.
Yeah.
And he's just regressed. And, Gleyber Torres, since he's went to shortstop, I mean, he's went downhill. And, Frazier's been up and down. And, I just hope they stick with him, see what he can do. And, it's just like Andujar, the team, the guys you thought were going to be really good and really productive, for whatever reason, injuries and stuff, they just haven't done the job. And I mean, Severino's had arm trouble, and it's just, they've regressed in the last couple seasons. They're not, potentially a great team anymore. I mean, I don't know. I think they'll get to the playoffs, but as of right now, I don't know how well they'll do.
Yeah, I mean, their offense right now looks like they do when they are in the playoffs. They can't hit, and if they can't, it's crazy. Like I told you off air, I literally turned the game off the last 2 days. I couldn't bear to watch it. I turned it off by the 5th, 6th inning because you're down by 5 or 6 runs and they're not coming back.
Yeah. And that was never the case. I mean, with the Yankees for the last 20-some years, I mean, they could be losing by 6, 7 runs going the 7th inning, and you knew at some point at least they bring the tying run up to bat. And now it's like you just can't score. Yeah.
And this would be a perfect opportunity for Mike Ford to see some playing time. I mean, but he's not hitting. But I would love to see him hit because Odor, he's batting like 189. And he's not hitting, so they have LeMahieu playing first a lot. But, I mean, if Ford could start hitting, that'd be a bonus for the Yankees, and it'd be nice to see him get going.
Yeah, well, they don't have a lot of options, and unless they bring up Chris Gittins and they bring up Florial and let him, develop in the major leagues. But I don't know what they're going to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, their last 10 games, they're 5-5, and like you said, they got swept by Detroit and lost 2 out of 3 to Toronto, and now they got 4 games with Tampa, who's red hot, and then Boston. And Boston in their last 10 games are 7-3, so they're playing really good ball too right now. Yankees going to find out what they're made of in these next 2 series.
Yeah, the next 2 games, you never want to say crucial at this point of the season, but you don't want to go 3-7 and 2-8.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, they could find themselves, almost 10 games out of first or, something like that. And you don't want that, not right now with the injuries and whatnot.
No. So, we'll see.
If they get past Tampa and Boston, then they face Minnesota, Philadelphia, and Toronto, teams they should beat up on. So if they could just come out of these next 2 series, intact, they'll be all right. But, there's a big series coming up with Tampa and then Boston.
Yeah, and against, the Rays pitching, if you're not hitting, that's a team you don't want to face.
No. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Cashman has up his sleeve this year because I have a feeling come the deadline they're going to need to make a move or two. Yeah,
I don't know what really he's going to do. Or, I mean, maybe they'll just wait till the off season. I don't know who the free agents are, and they might have a strike anyway, so who the hell knows what's going to happen with the baseball next year. But, I don't know. I really don't know what they can do. I mean, if they get anybody at the trade deadline, it might just be a rental for a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to see them, trade away Frazier or Nandahar, but, they might have to. It depends. But it's, they got me on pins and needles. I mean, they started off bad and they got hot, and now their offense just isn't coming around like we thought they would, and it's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, the games are boring. It's like watching, in the late '60s when they weren't scoring any runs.
Yeah. This time next week they'll be facing Boston at 7:00 next week a week from today. I mean, when we talk next, we'll know if they're still in the still in the hunt for the first place, or if they got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I hope the games get better because they're not easy to follow at this point.
No. And I like to see, like Montgomery, give him more innings, and I like to see Talon at least keep him in games. I mean, those two guys are going to need to step up with Kluber out.
Yeah. I mean, this is what they'll find out what they're made of, and. Like I say, Robert, I think throughout baseball we're going to see a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of them by the All-Star break, or if not the second half. But you're seeing a lot of pitchers now get hurt, and I think there's more to come. Yeah,
because nowadays everybody they swing hard, they throw hard. Everything has to everything's done at 100%. I mean, you can't. You can't lollygag out there, and that when you do things 100% all the time, you're bound to pull a muscle and get hurt. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what going forward will happen.
Yeah. This time next week, or you want to do it on a Monday after they finish up the series with Boston?
Well, we'll see. If they're not playing well. We might not do a show till February, but
yeah.
It's always a lot of fun. I mean, it's just it's great. Whatever happened with the Yankees, we'll always be Yankee fans.
Oh yeah. It's just been hard to watch this era of analytics, and I could see them doing the 7-inning doubleheader last year. I don't know why they're doing it this year, but I hope that's something next year that's gone. I don't like the 7-inning doubleheaders. I hate the extra inning rule. That rule that just drives me crazy. And if they ever implement the home run derby for extra innings, I'll stop watching. I'll draw the line there.
Well, I mean, with all these new rules, they suck. You got to pitch to 3 batters. But if they ever do that I don't think they will ever have the home run derby, because then you'll see guys get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus. My friend, I had a friend, and he was pissed about the 7-inning doubleheader. He keeps forgetting they have them, and then the extra inning rule, he keeps forgetting they have them. He's these a lot of guys my age and older, they just don't like them. Maybe this younger generation does, but I know my generation hates it.
No, I mean, anybody who remembers how the game used to be, they don't want to see this crap. But, like my generation, we'll be dead in 20 years, so nobody cares what we think. But the thing is, everything's catered to the young, and they don't have anything to compare it to. So, they want boom, 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 and everything done like, right now. And it's just that's not baseball. The great thing about baseball is not what's happening; it's what could happen, and you might see something that never happened before, and it's just that's what keeps you watching. And
yeah, I'm looking at the stats right now, and it's just I'm amazed with Tampa in first place and the Oakland A's in first place in the West. Those are two teams with one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, and they're both always up there in first place or around first place every year, the Athletics and Rays.
Well, it starts at the top. They got people who know what they're doing. And the interesting thing is both those teams might move.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I don't know.
Same time. So next week, Jack, hopefully we have a better week than 5-5.
Yeah, well, yeah, I look forward to talking to you, Robert. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, and to Yankee fans out there, we'll see you next week.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.